I'm Louise Krikorian, and this is Shaping Our Story, where I talk with leaders about their passion, purpose, and perseverance to encourage you to thrive. Today, our guest, Bill Lowe, started his career in radio while still in high school. Then, at the age of 18, he enlisted in the Army to serve in the U.S. and Korea. When he returned home, he returned to broadcasting, which turned into a 40-plus year career as a radio news, talk show, and public TV news anchor. He shaped his voice by listening to radio broadcasters like the iconic Paul Harvey. Bill and his wife, Nancy Lowe, were the first couple to appear as Airshow announcers in North America, which they continued for 30 years. Bill shares candid lessons on failure, humility, and finding your voice, both on air and in life, by staying forward-focused no matter where you are in your journey. Well, welcome and hello, Bill Lowe, like wow.
Thank you, Louise. Nice to be here.
We've been preparing this for quite some time. Just full disclosure, you are my sister's husband.
Yep.
Yes,
Family.
family, my brother-in-law. And I've been wanting to interview you for some time because something else that we have in common is that we both have a background in radio.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. But what we don't have in common is that you grew up spending the summers on your grandparents' farm.
Right.
And
I was destined to be a farmer, yes.
Yes. But when you were in high school, your English teacher announced that the local radio station was looking for some high school interns, and you started working there right away. But then when you graduated from high school, you enlisted in the Army at 18.
Yep.
And thank you for your service.
You're very welcome.
So you were in the Army for 3 years, and then when you came back, you went back into radio. And then you were in radio for over 40 years.
Yes, sure enough.
Yeah. So you
All I
worked
did
as a...
because it was easier to talk into a piece of metal than to lift hay bales.
It was cleaner, right? It was a cleaner
Certainly was
job.
cleaner. You didn't sweat near as much. Yeah.
No. You've worked as a disc jockey, as a news anchor, and you did programming in radio. You also hosted talk shows. You were a news anchor for public TV.
Mm-hmm.
And you decided to become an Airshow announcer, and you and my sister Nancy were doing that for 30 years,
Yeah.
and you were actually the first married couple to be the Airshow announcers
Be doing
in
that.
North
That's right.
America.
Yep. We
Yeah.
didn't know it at the time either.
No. And then you've also worked with model trains, and you also coordinate several YouTube channels.
Yep. Other than that,
So
my life's been pretty damn boring.
So with all of your pursuits, what would you say is your passion or greatest interest?
That's difficult. It depends on the moment. Currently, and for the last 13 years, it's been the lighting of those vehicles for train layouts. But at the same time, when I was working in broadcasting, obviously that, as you know, consumes a lot of your life. And at one point, I was doing both that and the air show announcing at the same time. And I have to say, maybe of all of it, the air show announcing, simply because it's a very small fraternity that is involved in performance at an air show. And it really is like a family, a very close-knit family. And the things you see and the places you go and the people you meet, there's not another experience like that, I don't believe. It was just amazing.
So I've seen you and Nancy announce at the air show that was here at the MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida. And
Did
that
that for
was
about
just
6 years, yeah.
spectacular. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Nancy also sang the national anthem.
She sings both the US and Canadian anthems a cappella, which is no
Yeah.
small feat, by the way.
No,
She does
very
have small
talented.
feet, but that's not what I mean.
Well, I do want to mention one of your personal Facebook is very humorous as well. So you're,
If yeah, it's definitely X-rated sometimes, but yes.
yeah, well, so we're not going to be talking about that
No, no,
right
my
now.
sense of humor runs the gamut.
So you would say then your greatest passion then was working at the air show.
I really think so. I've always, ever since a small child, been fascinated by flight, by airplanes. Actually, by the time I was 40, became a private pilot, actually. Um, and I, it's very difficult to articulate what that meant to be involved with talking to a huge crowd and trying to share that passion with them in an effective way.
Hmm.
Because that was always what I felt our job was there, was to transmit to them the excitement and the wonder of flight, and to leave there thinking, maybe I made one person think about joining this fraternity.
Mm.
That was the whole thing.
So who was your mentor?
In terms of the air shows,
Yeah, if that was your greatest passion, would
yeah,
you say that?
um, it's interesting. I don't know if there was a mentor initially. I got into it by chance as a volunteer
Mhm.
at a show put on by the National Warplane Museum down south of Rochester here in 1988. The guy that was announcing, knowing I was in radio, asked if I wanted to join him announcing, and I was like, sure. And that's how that began.
Mm.
And
Okay.
from there, then I got into the broader fraternity of airshow performers, and there I met people like Danny Clisham, who's been at it forever as an announcer and is such an inspiration, the way he handles himself at shows, and numerous others. I really can't point to any single individual, though. I think it was the same in broadcasting. Was the people that I had the good fortune to work with
Hmm.
over the years in that area and in air shows, all of them had something to give. All I had to do was be willing to accept it
Hmm.
and to decide, do I want that to be part of how I go about this, or is that something I don't want to do? But mentors, by and large, if you're willing and open and willing, you can learn so much from the dinosaurs, like myself, in terms of
Hmm.
broadcasting, for instance.
Hmm.
Uh, but you have to be open to listen. You have to realize they have something to give and you have something to learn.
Right. Right. So, and it sounds like your purpose is sharing enthusiasm and inspiring others.
Oh, absolutely. Not only in the air show business, but on the air when I was on the air doing news or whatever I was doing. To do news on radio, for instance, first and foremost, you have to be entertaining while doing it.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean being frivolous. That means simply you have to realize you must get their attention first. If you don't get their attention within seconds, doesn't matter what you have to say. So there was that. But then I have information you need to know. And here are the facts, carefully checked, and then you decide what you're going to do with it. But I want to present that to you. And it was an obligation, if
Hmm.
you will, to present that fairly squarely and as expeditiously as possible. And I always enjoyed that. I really did. It wasn't so much about, boy, here's me on the radio. It was about what we could do with this.
Hmm. Yeah. So, with all of your work in radio, and you had enlisted in the Army in 1960, and you served with the Nike Hercules missile air defense system in both the US and Korea. Then you're running your own business right now, and that's the custom lighted diecast. You have several YouTube channels that you coordinate, and you also volunteer at the Edgerton Model Railroad Club, plus your work in air shows. What would you say was your biggest professional failure, and what did you learn from it?
Ah, I think my biggest professional failure, I have to go back to 1975 when I was at WNBF in Binghamton. And I had been there at that point 5 years, radio station. I was an on-air news anchor, also had done some talk shows there. And one of the general managers, anybody that's been in that business knows general managers come and go. And the one who was in charge at that point, and the kindest way to put this is I forgot that he was the boss.
Mm.
He, however, remembered. And it was a life lesson that I learned very quickly when he decided I wasn't going to work there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it was kind of shocking in a way, but on reflection, it was entirely my fault.
Mm.
I had forgotten my role. I had gotten, as my grandparents used to say, too big for my britches.
Mm-hmm.
By golly, he showed me how to get my britches back on real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So I think from a standpoint of mistakes that I've made,
Right.
that's one of my biggest regrets that I let that get to that point. And that's on me, nobody else. And that's,
Mm-hmm.
you have to accept that.
But you learned to never do that again.
That's a you bet your life.
Right. No.
When
So
you
would
can't pay
you,
the grocery bill, yeah, you learn quick.
right. This is true. So would you say that you do what you do because it comes easy to you or it comes naturally?
um, I discovered in the broadcast business, certainly, I discovered, yes, that I had the talent to do it. It just needed to be developed, which I
Mm-hmm.
was fortunate to be given the space to develop it. Um, and even air show announcing, I enjoyed airplanes so much and flight and everything about it that, yeah, it was pretty easy. What I do, lighting these little cars for train layouts, that's something I did not know how to do.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of knew about LEDs and stuff from years and years ago, and I fell into it. And I now, after 13 years, perfected that simply by teaching myself. But I, 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 I never felt when I was working in radio, you know how so many people go, I got to go to work again today. I
Right.
never felt that.
Mm.
Always enjoyed going in there. I enjoyed the
Yeah.
creativity of the people around me
Mm-hmm.
and the creative license that we were given and the trust that was put in us by management to do the right thing. And air show announcing, same thing, pretty much on your own. And
Mm-hmm.
you're on all day at one of those shows as the announcer.
Right. Yeah.
But you were trusted to do the right thing again. And by the way, if you don't last very long. If you don't do the right thing, you will not
Mm.
last very long in any of those pursuits.
That's true.
But yeah, it's I I don't do stuff I don't enjoy,
Mm.
not for very long.
Right. Would you say that you give up easily when things get hard?
No, well, depends on what phase of my life you're talking about. There have been times when I've given up far too easily.
Hmm.
Uh, and sitting here at approaching age 84, looking back on it, I go, dummy, you had a chance to learn there and you didn't.
Hmm.
Uh, don't make mistakes today that you'll regret tomorrow.
Hmm.
Best advice I could give somebody. Stop and
Mm-hmm.
think, settle down, cool off. Yeah, what am I doing here? That's a good question to ask at any time.
Okay. What keeps you inspired?
You know, um, I get up every day looking forward, seldom looking backward, because the past is done and gone. There's nothing you can do to change it.
Mm-hmm.
But each day offers an opportunity to learn, to expand, and to just generally enjoy the fact that you're here. Our time here is limited.
Hmm.
And you really need it. It's a cliche and it's ever so true. You need to enjoy every minute that you're here to the utmost that you can. There are going to be times when you're tried. There are going to be times when you're severely tested. But always remember, you passed all of those tests before to get to that test. And you
Right.
survived those tests. That means you can do it again. And you
Hmm.
should.
Hmm. That's interesting. So you're inspired just by like the next day.
I'm inspired by drawing my next breath, quite frankly.
Hmm. So in your
And,
next breath, what are you hoping to do next?
you know, at this point, I'm pretty happy with my life the way it is. And again, when you get to this age, you your mindset changes considerably from when you're younger.
Hmm.
Uh, you at some point, and for me, this has happened a little while back. You realize that almost all of your life is behind you, so you have a limited amount of time ahead. You don't know what it is. You don't get to decide. Nobody gets out
Hmm.
alive. So what you need to do then is to capitalize on that and to enjoy it.
Hmm.
I, I don't know how many other ways to say that. It's just that's the philosophy that's going to get me wherever I'm going from here.
Hmm.
Who knows what's around the next bend? I mean, I never thought 13 years ago that I would be lighting little cars and I would have a 2-year waiting list for the contract work on them. Who knew that was there? I didn't,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and there may be something like that around the next bend. All I have to do is get around that bend and see what's there.
So what would you say if somebody was starting their own journey? What kind of advice would you give to them?
Always, again, and it was very difficult when you're younger, but always move forward, think forward. You dwell on the past at your own peril because again, you can't change it and it will
True.
drag you down. Stuff that
Hmm.
has happened has happened. It's over.
Mm-hmm.
It's done. Ain't nothing you can do about it. Think forward, move forward. Always try to improve. Always try to be the absolute best you can be at what you are doing or stop doing it. It's like we used to have people wanting to get into broadcasting. And one guy sent me a tape when I was a program director,
Hmm.
an audition tape. He sounded like Elmer Fudd. I swear I am not lying. He sounded like Elmer Fudd. And my advice to him was go sell shoes.
Oh my
Find
goodness.
something other than this. This is simply not it. God love you for
Hmm.
one to do it. You cannot.
Hmm.
No one is going to hire you, you know?
Hmm.
And you have to accept that
Yeah.
and move on.
Well,
I,
you know,
I
it's in.
when I said go sell shoes, I wasn't that nasty about it. I'm simply,
Right. Right.
you know,
Right. But
anyway.
it is interesting that you mention Elmer Fudd because I know when we were talking before, you had mentioned someone that you looked up to in radio that you wanted to emulate.
Oh, yeah. Paul Harvey, far and away. Paul Harvey, for those who are young in the audience, you can look him up on YouTube and you should. You have never, if you've never heard it, you've never heard a presentation on radio like it. It is the epitome of how you tell a story, of how you use your voice, of how you get people's attention. Paul Harvey, I like to say, would jump out of the radio figuratively, grab you by the throat, and not let go until he was done.
Hmm.
You could not turn it off. Had the good fortune to meet and speak to him for about a half an hour once here in Rochester.
Hmm.
And charming guy, charming guy. And at the end of our, when other people wanted to talk to him as well, I
Hmm.
said, I don't want to capitalize your time, but thanks for talking to me. And his last words to me were, take care of that voice. And I went, oh my God.
Wow.
Paul Harvey said that to me.
Mm.
And I was like, oh dear God.
Wow.
But he was and will always be my hero.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to emulate someone, pick the best.
Right.
And
That's
I
great
didn't try to
advice.
sound like him necessarily, but I used some of his techniques. I adopted some of them because they were so effective. And you see some of that here. In other words, the pause, the things I do automatically because I did them for so many years.
But you
I
cultivated that.
Oh yeah, I'll give you a quick story. I don't know how much time you've got. 1968. Excuse me. I was at WMLP in Milton, Pennsylvania, as a disc jockey on the air on the weekend, only person in the place. So I was playing the music, reading the news, commercials, the whole 9 yards. There was an old reel-to-reel tape machine in the control room. So it would come a break between songs. I knew it was coming, so I'd turn the tape recorder on and record the break as I did it. And I'm thinking, boy, that was really cool and entertaining. And then I start the song, go back to the tape, play the tape back, and go, good Lord, I would not listen to him in a million years. Next break, turn the tape recorder on, crank it up a little bit in terms of my on-air presentation. 5 or 6 times I did that in
Mm-hmm.
succession. Like the sixth time, as I was doing it on the air, I thought, if the boss is listening, he is going to come in here, drag me into the parking lot, and tell me never to come back in here again. I thought I sounded insane.
Mm.
Played the tape back, and I went, I'll be darned. The key, it had to be, as you were doing it, it had to sound larger than life because the
Mm.
radio listener cannot see you.
Right.
They have to form their entire picture of you from your voice and your presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like one of the biggest breakthroughs for me personally, because from that point on, that was the goal all the time. Play that tape, run that tape, listen to that tape, and go, what can I do to improve it? And that's true to this day when I do a video for YouTube or Facebook. Before it goes on out to the public, I'll look at that maybe 4 or 5 times, going and picking it apart, and maybe go back and reproduce it simply because I did not do my best job.
Oh. Wow. That's really interesting because with a podcast, I'm not going back to reproduce it because I used
Mhm.
to work in oral history, and oral history is you
Oh yeah,
just
that's
record it and
right.
you don't edit anything. So I edit very little in the podcast, but I did get I always ask for feedback. And someone at a Connecticut newspaper, I had asked him for feedback, and he said, just keep doing it.
Mhm.
And each time you do it, get better.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
but the only way you're going to get better is to review
Right.
it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, what do you do consistently every day to help you pursue your passion?
Uh, well, being retired now a very long time, uh, I I every morning I do a rundown of a bunch of different news sources. That ranges from AP to Fox News to Al Jazeera to The Guardian. I go through all of those to get the international picture. The local television stations, uh, and Garrison Kaler writing. He has a website, Garrison Kaler Writing, and every 3, 4, 6 days he posts a new piece on there. One of the best writers ever,
Mm-hmm.
Garrison Kaler of Public Radio, of course. Um, and then I always try to spend at least a little bit of each day at the workbench working on the lighting the vehicles because again I have this huge waiting list that I'm always constantly trying to get through. You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, And beyond that, it's just, well, there's things like we got a garden, we're going to be planting the garden before long. There's always something like that, you
Mhm.
know? Well, again, it's basically, I can't stress it enough that you have to be going forward every day.
Right.
You really do. No
Yeah.
time for going back, no time for going, oh, gee, I wish I would have.
Mm,
No, it's a waste
right.
of time. I
Yeah.
don't have the energy for that anymore.
Right. No, I always think in terms of people say if only, and I think no, not if only. Think next time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, well, I really appreciate your time for the podcast. And I know you have a lot of links for your work, and you work with a number of different YouTubes. So I'm
Mm,
going to list all of those. And I want to make sure that people can reach out to you because
very good. I'm always
you
here.
are one of a kind.
And some would say, good.
Well, thank you again. I've really enjoyed our time together.
Thank you, Louise. I really enjoyed it too.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us at Shaping Our Story, and thanks to our guest, Bill Lowe, whose ability to consistently keep improving with repetition, reflection, and the discipline to keep looking forward is proof that he combines his passion with perseverance. If you enjoyed this week's episode, click on follow and leave a comment to inspire us or suggest a guest. And remember, if this made you think, please share the thought with a friend. See you next time.